This is the Markdown note-taking app that I've built in the past week using Vue.js and Electron. Let's take a look at some of its features. First and foremost, you gotta have the ability to navigate Markdown files in a specific folder. Graphite also has some subdirectories, so don't look is one folder, top secret is another folder, and you can have nested subdirectories and things like that. On the right side, we got an editor, and this is a CodeMirror editor that you can use to type stuff. Right now it's in plain Markdown. If we press this button, it'll be converted to HTML. Additionally, we got a couple file features, so you can create new files, you can rename files, you can delete files. So let me just delete that file. Also, you can select certain themes, so you can select the Dracula theme, which is already selected right now. You can do Groovebox, and you'll notice here that when you select a file, the colors are the Groovebox colors. And the last theme that we got going on is Monokai. And of course, we got the Monokai colors as well. And finally, we also got some key bindings. I can press Command B to toggle the file browser. Also, I can press Command O to open a file. You can start typing, and maybe I want to find untitled, right? So untitled 10. If I click that, it's going to open untitled 10. And as you can see, it's open right here. What's going on, everyone? My name is Suboptimal, and I'm just a typical Indian guy working on the next billion-dollar unicorn and making YouTube videos on the side. Today, we'll go over the local first Markdown note-taking app I made last week using Vue.js, Electron, and Tailwind CSS. If you want the full details for this project, then you can always check out the code on GitHub. It's located under my Graphite repository. I even got a demo and a couple images to show you guys what it is capable of. One thing I do want to mention is that don't use it. Please don't use it to edit your local files. It's very buggy. And this video is going to be split up into 4 main parts. First, we'll look at why I decided to make a local first desktop app as opposed to just a normal app. Then we'll dive deep into the tech stack I used to make this project. Afterwards, we'll take a look at some of the NPM libraries that really helped pave the way for this project. And finally, we'll go over some of the features that I never got the chance to implement. Before we get started, I'm just going to ask for one small favor from you guys, and that is to leave a like for the YouTube algorithm. It takes me quite a bit of time to plan, record, and edit these videos, so just a small like goes a long way in helping me and the channel out. Cool. With that out of the way, let's jump right in. So why did I make a local first Markdown app instead of just any old Markdown app that runs on the web? 3 main things come to mind. So the first one is security. When you're working with a local sort of project, right, you don't have to connect to the web. In fact, I don't even need to make user profiles. I don't need to store data on a server. I don't need anything like that. I'm working directly with a user's file system. So in this case, I have a folder on my computer called Graphite, and this folder contains these 4 Markdown files, and it also contains these other folders, and etc., etc. But the point being, the file system on my computer is acting as the database. And so I don't need to add anything with databases. I just need to figure out a way to interact with the file system. And because I don't need to add databases, I don't need to add permissions, I don't need to have any sort of user accounts, having a local first app has a lot of benefits. Chief benefit being that it's very secure, because I'm not going to be connecting to the internet or anything like that. It's just on your own computer. The second reason is going to be server cost. When you have any sort of project that needs to store data in some sort of database, or you need to be running a live server for the user to interact with your project, that's going to cost a lot of money. Obviously, I don't have that much money because I'm just making YouTube videos now. I don't make much money at all, actually. And the third, probably the most important reason, is I want to build my own startup, and it's going to be a creator-focused startup. I have an idea that I'm probably going to be working on it by the time you guys are watching this video, but point is, I wanted to use the same tech stack that I'm using right now for that project. So I guess the sort of summary of this is why build local first apps? 1, security. 2, save server costs. And 3, well, it's more of a personal reason for me, but the personal reason being I want to learn the tech stack so I can build my own startup. So now let's take a look at the tech stack. This project is built with Vue, Vuex, Tailwind, and Electron. Basically, Electron allows you to easily create desktop apps. So, if you've worked with VS Code, that is an Electron application. Vue over React, just because, well, I just think Vue is a little easier to get started with. And I think Vue is going to be very popular technology in the future. Vuex is a state management tool. I think the best way to sort of explain what Vuex does is with an example, right? So say I'm hovering over this thing, right? So I have two components here, right? I have this file browser component, and then I have this editor component, but they're both like separate components, right? If I were to click here, I want to somehow tell this other component on the right side to switch files. So that's what Vuex does. It's a state management system that simplifies the process of keeping state consistent inside of your own app. So if I click this, you'll notice that, the file changed. Well, the editor didn't, but let me click this, right? So basically, Vuex makes it easy to change the state of your file and do it, app wide. When you're building like smaller applications, you won't really run into this, but when you're building a application that has data that needs to be changed app wide, it's good to have a Vuex state. Another example is for changing themes, right? So if I want to change a theme, I got to change it in this component here. I got to change it in this file browser component, and I got to change it inside the Markdown editor itself. Right now we're in Monokai. So if I click Dracula, I want the whole app to update the theme, right? So that's what, Vuex is really helpful in doing. And yeah, Tailwind CSS, custom styling. So, you can select themes and things like that. And this whole thing is just built with Tailwind CSS. So now we talked about why I made a local first Markdown app, and we jumped a little bit into the tech stack. I think the next important thing is to look at some useful libraries and talk about what they're helpful in making. So the first is directory tree. So this is a NPM library that I found that basically you give it a path, and it's going to recursively iterate through the directory and give you a lot of information about that. This file browser component is using the information passed from directory tree. Another thing that's super useful is Marked. So Marked is a library that converts between, raw Markdown to HTML. So whenever I press this button, I am toggling between the Marked library. So you guys will see right here that as soon as I press it, you're gonna, see a change, and you're gonna see the actual Markdown. Another useful one is hotkeys.js. So when I press something like Command O to open file search, when I press Escape to exit file search, when I press Command B to toggle the file browser, that is done utilizing hotkeys.js. Finally, the other very useful thing is CodeMirror. So CodeMirror is a library that basically binds a text area to this code editor right over here. And so those are some of the most helpful libraries for creating a project like this. So now that we talked about some of the useful libraries, let's talk about future improvements that could be made to this app. So there's a few things that I never got the chance to do, and I'm going to be honest with you guys, I'm probably not going to do because I'm going to be working on my own app for creators. Point is, let me just walk you guys through a couple of the features that are missing from this application. One is, well, you can't download it. So I didn't export this as a Mac app or a Windows or Linux app, so you can't really use this, and I highly suggest that you do not use it. There's a lot of edge cases that I don't handle. Also, every once in a while, like, files get overwritten, so just don't use this. So one thing to do is to actually sort of clean out all these messes and create a desktop app. Another one is file and folder manipulation. So right now you can move files, like you can move files between separate folders, but what you can't do is you can't move folders. You can't edit folder names. You can't delete folders, right? Because when you delete folders, you have to delete all the files inside of here, and I didn't implement that functionality. So while you can rename a file, while you can delete a file, you can't do anything with folders. So that's another thing that I sort of just skipped out on. And the last thing that I didn't do is what you see is what you get. This is something that a lot of Markdown apps have. So for example, if you have something like this, right? If you have a heading, as soon as you make it into a heading, some editors, they just make it really big, right? Like they automatically transform it to a heading. But right now, the only way to convert this to a heading inside of my app is to press this button, right? You can only toggle between headings. There's a ton of other features, but these are just some of the core ones that, if completed, would actually make this a project that I could actually maybe export and things like that. So yeah, that's going to be it for today's video. Hopefully you guys learned a little something about why you may want to start your own local first desktop app and how you can do so using Vue.js, Electron, Tailwind, and some of the other libraries that I talked about. And if not, then I guess thanks for watching till the end. Anyways, if you enjoyed the video, then hit that like button because that really does help me out. And consider subscribing for more suboptimal content just like this. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time.